What's happening, people? Thanks as always for passing by the channel, much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Don't forget as well, please, to like and share the videos. Big thank you to everyone who's been doing that so far. You guys are absolute legends. Apologies if I seem a bit groggy and out of it today. Had a long day at work yesterday. Then coming home, I actually had a little nap before sticking on the Canelo fight in the early hours of this morning, and then had another sleep, and then I've just woken up about 45 minutes ago. But we're going to get into it. That was a good little fight last night, a pretty good fight, because it was a lot closer than I expected at times. You know, Caleb Plant deserves a lot of respect for what he did, because he showed Canelo something that he wasn't expecting. His defense was very, very good, and in the end I just think it came down to the gas tank, because those championship rounds 10 to 12, are the meanest and hardest ones, and it's only the elite boxers that can really take it to the next level when it comes to those championship rounds. And Canelo is just like a machine, man. He just kept coming forward all night long like some blooming juggernaut or something. Plant boxed well though, but it was the lack of concentration in the end which cost him in round 11, as he just lapped for once. It was that 1 second where he lapped any other boxer on the planet and he could maybe get away with it. Unfortunately for him, he was in with the big dog. He was in with Canelo, and with Canelo it only takes 1 second, and that's all he needs to get someone out of there, and proof is in the pudding. It showed, because it's important to note that Plant had never been down in his career before, before last night, which just shows how much power Canelo's holding at the moment. So Plant, he went out on his shield, like a true warrior, and that deserves some respect. What was also even better to see was the kind of them embracing at the end of the fight, because all that pre-fight tension, they just kind of settled it all, which, because with the press conference and stuff, all the little kind of, there was some bad blood and some bad words said between them, but examples like that are why I love this sport, because it's all about the respect at the end of the day. All of that is just squashed. They had the little pre-fight arguments, a little scuffle here and there, but once the boxing is done, they just ended it all, and that's what I liked about it. Deontay Wilder could learn a thing or two from those guys. For Canelo, he did get frustrated at times in that fight, didn't he? Especially with his body work. Like, Plant was just taking it all night long and taking it very, very well. It was a hard fight to score. So going into the 11th, I had Canelo up by 2. I had it 6-4 to Canelo. But wait, if you had it evens going in, I wouldn't blame you. If you said I had it 5-5 and it was only the knockout that really settled it for me, I would totally understand that, because Plant boxed so well. Because Canelo was the aggressor, I had him up by a couple of, I had him up from the rounds. But for me, the scariest thing about him was just that finish. That we went into round 11 and immediately it was like a switch. He went from gear 2 to 10 in a matter of seconds, and like that, the fight was over. The way he finished Caleb Plant off was just clinical. The way he charged across the ring, it was like a predator, like a lion or a tiger going in for the kill. Canelo is no joke, people. He is the best boxing finisher in the world right now by a long way, and what he did last night is just proof in the pudding, because Canelo was never hurt by Plant. Plant didn't necessarily cause him problems. Canelo just seemed to kind of struggle to find his rhythm and was struggling to break him down. So maybe going into that 11th, he thought, what, I'm just going to go all guns blazing, because once he stepped on the pedal, it was game over, and Plant just had no answer for it at all. Just punches and bunches. Everyone was thrown with brute force, mean intentions. Like, I love the way he was the left hook, and then he pushed him back to bring in the right uppercut. The push for me was what does it, because that rough and tough style is what's needed to win these fights. It's very streetwise. It's the sort of thing that I or some of my mates would do, but that's what really damaged him, and then it was that right uppercut, the punch which has ruined fighters, the punch which broke Billy Joe Saunders' face, was the one that puts down Caleb Plant. Shout out Canelo, man. Top fighter, best in the world. Canelo has once again put an unbeaten fighter to the sword. So what next for these guys? Well, I think first off, for Caleb Plant, he has done himself proud and definitely has a future in this super middleweight division. And I can see him being a world champion again. Once Canelo's kind of done all this thing and he's vacated all his belts, I could definitely see Caleb Plant potentially being world champion again. He was in great shape, he boxed well, there was plenty of fights out there for him, and he showed his quality last night. You know, he put up a better fight than most do against Canelo, to be honest. So big respect to Caleb Plant. Canelo is now undisputed at 168 pounds in only 11 months as well, after just 3 fights. I'm like, that's just madness when you think about it. I'm more intrigued about who he's going to fight, to be honest. He's a complete fighter. You can only applaud what this guy's doing, because you look at what he did to Callum, you know, when he went up against Callum Smith, people saying this is a real test for him because Callum Smith's big, he's rangy, he's got power. Canelo broke him. And then when he went up against Billy Joe Saunders, it was even worse. People saying, oh, Billy Joe's a mover, he's got head movement, foot movement, he'll outbox Canelo. Canelo broke him. You know, they were flying, you know, and you don't really hear from them much. You haven't heard them, both of them, for a while. But Canelo has said he wants to fight 3 or 4 times in 2022. So, you know, who's it going to be? He has got loads of options. He's got, if he goes up to 175, he's got Joe Smith Jr., Dmitry Bivol, or Bertabiev. Either one of those is a brilliant fight in my view. People talking about the Triple G trilogy. We'll have to see how Triple G does against Murata in December for that WBA belt. I mean, if Triple G wins that, the only thing I want to hear him say is, I'm going up to 168. Even if it's not to fight Canelo, he's just spent far too much time at 160 for me. He's just dead of the weight at that point. 168, he would be a different monster. Jamel Charlo, I mean, yeah, potentially, but he doesn't hit nearly as hard as Canelo does. And Demetrius Andrade needs to actually fight somebody of note before even thinking about going up against Canelo. So it's very interesting to see where the pound for pound king is going to go next. He is one hell of a fighter. Can't wait to see him again. Love watching his fights. Thanks for tuning in again, guys. I hope you all enjoy the fight, and I will see you all soon. Peace.